Back to a great day for this Tuesday, 22nd of September. We welcome Mike Jankins to the desk as we continue our conversation that we had last time you were here.
Yeah, last time we were talking about how people, how we can protect people's assets and property by merely collecting documentation of the actual assets they have. We want to make sure that we plan correctly in their bankruptcy, that what they say they own, they really own, and to the to the extent that they own it. And we're starting to come into the time of the year now where tax refunds are going to become relevant again. That's an asset when you file bankruptcy. It's money the government owes me. So there's limits when you file bankruptcy on how much of that money you can keep. Now, we talked about it last year.
So even though the government owes you the money, there's limits as to what you can collect from them?
Well, not from the government, but how much you're going to get to keep or have to give to the bankruptcy court to pay your debts.
Okay.
We've spoken before about assets that are protected or they're exempt, right, and you get to retain them in the bankruptcy, and some of those have limits, and this is one of them. So each person who was actually employed during the year can protect $1,000 of their tax refund money. And so the year's not over right now, so we still have about a quarter of the year left, and so for those people that were filing now, they prorate the refund to begin with. So the part that would come from the date you file afterwards, that gets set aside as your money because it wasn't really generated until after the case was filed. So they kind of split that up. And so part of our putting together the bankruptcy, we'll look at the tax returns for the last 2 years. Lots of information contained in those, and one of those is how much tax refund money they got. And some people get $5,000, $6,000.
They do?
Really?
I said, who are these people?
And who does their taxes?
The average tax refund was $3,120.
Yeah, and so you're over withholding to the government, and so you're getting some of that money
What
back.
happens if you're on the other end of the scale? What if you've paid for the past couple of years? Well, do you have that much of a buffer added onto yours, or are you still limited to that $1,000?
Well, this is only if you're going to be entitled to money. So if in this particular year you hit the jackpot, you're still going to only be able to protect that limited amount.
Really?
And so there's different reasons people get big tax refunds. Some people just are having too much taxes taken out, and they should really adjust the withholdings to a proper level.
I mean, you should get zero, really.
Ideally.
Yeah.
But other people, they have a business or they're self-employed and they took big loss in their self-employment or business, and the other spouse is working and having taxes taken out of payroll, so they can generate a big tax refund that way. Other people get, they're low-income folks, and so they get a government entitlement called earned income credit, and you have to have certain income level and amount of dependents. And then there's additional component to that called additional child tax credit. And it's really not a refund of your tax money per se, it's more of a government entitlement. The government's giving these people this extra money. It's not because they paid too much in. Okay. And those, again, with the refund money, then you have to look at how did it get to be so big. The parts that are the earned income credit and the additional child tax credit, that's set aside, that whole amount is protected. And so when we're talking about the $1,000 refund being protected, it's from the refund of tax taken out of your check in addition to these amounts. Okay. So, I mean, it's a little bit complicated. But so this is the time of year we look at that, and if somebody got a really big refund and it wasn't because of the earned income credit, we can tell them now, look, your refund's really big, you need to change your withholdings and have very little tax taken out for the rest of the year, or none. You can fill out a new W-4 form at your employer and change your withholdings, and there's a box to check that says you're exempt from taxes, which means you've already paid in enough for the year. Okay. And they'll not take any more federal tax out. And you can do that for the state. So you're effectively collecting your tax refund in advance, because ordinarily you'd keep having this money taken out. Hey, you're just going to get it back anyway, in another 6 months. Right. So they stopped taking it out. The big refund isn't going to be so big anymore, and for most of our clients that do this, when we recognize this is an issue for their case, they don't lose any of their tax refund money when they got to give the trustee in the bankruptcy their tax return next February or
But you need
March.
to do this sooner rather than later in the year.
Well, it's those people that we're meeting with now, because some people we're not going to be meeting with until December or January, so we really don't know what their situation is going to be. But these are people that we've already seen in the last several months that are bringing their things back to us now, and we're having them come in to sign. And so we'll already have looked at that and recognized, hey, this is an issue, you should do this. And we take a note saying we told client to do this, and so later on when the trustee says, hey, we need to see your tax return, we say, you're going to be fine. Remember, we told you to do that, and you did do it right. Oh, yes. And so that works out real well for people, and it's just planning. I think most attorneys will ask for the tax returns, and sometimes I think you just put them in the file and say, okay, we got them, this is how much people made last year, we verified that, and without really looking at the rest of the tax return and seeing what good information is in there.
Well, we just want to clarify, this is for bankruptcy, and this is working with an accredited lawyer. We don't want everyone to just go and be like, hey, I'm going to go exempt. And,
no taxes taken up, because you will get dinged for that.
You will get dinged for that. For this, so this is for this.
Yeah, that can be disastrous, because we also tell everybody, if you do this on January 1, you need to change your withholdings back to the normal.
Right.
Don't just like forget, don't get busy and go, oh, I don't, I guess I forgot.
I'll haunt you.
Because then all of a sudden at the end of the year, you might be owing Internal Revenue Service $3,000 or $4,000 instead of getting a refund, and that's not a pretty sight.
Right.
So it's just important to get these things. And another area of property that's important to document is ownership in real estate. We always require our clients to provide us the deeds to whatever it is they own, if it's their home, if it's investment property, timeshare documents. If they've got some type of an inherited right that they own some legal interest in property other than the right to live there now, it's a future interest that when somebody passes away, they can say, if mom gets the house, it's hers, but when she dies, you're getting it. And so that can already be provided for in a deed. Legally, it's called a life or a remainder interest, meaning that when the person who we're giving the house to live in dies, this is, child A, B, and C get the rest of it. And so it's already been determined, and that's a real estate ownership interest. Even though you can't do anything with it now, we need to see those, because those have value, and those can be sold by a bankruptcy trustee. So we try to protect those interests. Sometimes we have our clients sell it to their siblings, saying, look, we sell it now, and they can use the money for some protected type of asset or spend it on something, and then at least they've gotten something for their interest, because it's not protected, and the trustee
could lose it.
Yeah, the trustee in bankruptcy will go find someone to give up some money for it and pay the creditors. So we just really need to know about these things. And sometimes people think they own something on land when they truly don't. Husband and wives will come to us and go, yeah, we own this house, and they both think they're on the deed, but they're not. Sometimes it's just in the husband's name or just in the wife's name, and the other person really owns nothing. And sometimes that can be really important and crucial. One of the exceptions to the protection of your home is if you had debts before you got this home that are in this bankruptcy, your home wouldn't be protected as to those debts. And if you've got two spouses that own it, if the debts were just one of the spouses and not the others, then the home would still be protected, because the spouse who didn't have the pre-existing debt, they can't defeat that person's homestead rights. And even though they're both in the bankruptcy, so that's why it's really important to see who owns what and get the deeds.
Lots of things to think about.
Also important to have a good lawyer to help you get through all this.
Like this guy right here. If you are going through this, this is who you want to contact, folks. There are your locations. You can find some more information of how to contact Mike. So just well done. Just something to think about, definitely. So just make sure you have your paperwork in line.
That's
correct?
right.
There you go. It is 9 minutes before 9 o'clock. We'll be right back. You're watching Great Day Live on KCWI.